John Graham was a station foreman and was alone working the night shift at Bethnal Green, a station on the Central Line in East London in early spring 1981.
As normal, up to the last train, everything, staff went home and everything, and I just secured the station and just went back to the office and started doing some paperwork because all the staff had gone home. Put some of the station lights off. And all of a sudden, I was just sitting there and heard a sound of children crying at first. And I dismissed it as nothing, really. And then all of a sudden, it seemed to get sort of loud. And then all of a sudden, there was voices of women and people screaming and loud noises, a combination of everything. It built up to quite a frightening situation, really. It seemed to go on for about 10 or 15 minutes. And it was just like as people were panicking, to the point I left the office and I went up to the top of the booking hall and remained, majority of the time I was frightened to go back to the office because of the noise down there. It was quite frightening, actually. Well, even when I go through Bethnal Green to this day, I can't forget it, you know. It's frightening, really, actually.
Of the 173 people that died at Bethnal Green, only 27 were men. The remaining 146 were women and children. Although infrasound alone could never offer an explanation as to why John heard the women and children's voices, it could explain any strange feelings. We took Vic Tandy to the station to see if he could put his audio expertise into practice and find a possible explanation for the strange noises.
This is the station office at Bethnal Green, where the person was reporting feeling strange feelings that then led on to him hearing screams. So I thought it'd be legitimate to measure infrasound in here, see if there is any infrasound which might have been implicated in that. And then we'll go out and do some experiments outside. I'm getting breathless. Yeah, I don't know why I'm getting breathless. Is it very high in here? Hang on. It's about 80 dB.
After testing for infrasound in the Bethnal Green office, Vic made a recording of the ticket hall. He electronically simulated the frequencies of a female scream from outside the station's 3 entrances and recorded them to see if the sound would behave in an unusual way.
The blue represents a frequency which is equivalent to a female scream, and you can see that it stands out quite clearly. So it is quite possible for all people to hear sounds from outside the station within the ticket office itself. It may be that in this particular case, the infrasound might lay down the sort of context. It might make the person feel a bit uneasy to begin with. And the test that we did show that sounds from outside the ticket hall could sound inside the ticket hall. We can't obviously say for sure, but at least we know that sounds from outside can sound as though they're coming from the ticket hall itself.
The idea of ghosts keeping station staff company and travelling with everyday commuters is not a new one. In fact, there are dozens of stories that circulate around the network and staff. Rumours such as the Bakerloo Line passenger. When sitting on the Bakerloo Line, travelling northbound, apparently you can sometimes see the reflection of someone sitting in the seat next to you, even though the seat is actually empty. The dead body train is widely reported to have run in earlier parts of the last century. The tunnel, which is now bricked up, is believed to have run from London Hospital to Whitechapel. The train carried nothing but dead passengers to the station. Anne Naylor was murdered in the 18th century. Her screams are reported to be heard on the platforms of Farringdon Station. People have nicknamed her the Screaming Spectre. Despite any rumours, one thing is for sure. As the underground expands, more graves are being disturbed, and with it, the number of unexplainable experiences is increasing.
The hairs were sticking up straight on both arms, and I could feel it on my neck. It was like a tingling like static electricity.
The Jubilee line is London Underground's newest line. However, the extension, from Westminster near the Houses of Parliament to Stratford in East London, dug its way through the grounds of several monasteries, forcing the relocation of 683 exhumed graves. It's reported that sightings of monks have increased in this part of the network ever since. Just like every other line, the entire 45 miles of the Jubilee line is checked each night on foot by track-walking patrolmen, walking the lengths of the tunnels on their own. Bill McCown is a track walker and has been patrolling the tunnels of the Underground for nearly 20 years. He was walking along the northbound Jubilee line from Baker Street to St John's Wood in the early hours of the morning. He'd sat down in the tunnel for a break.
So all of a sudden, I heard this noise. Now, there's no bolt holes that side or that side, anywhere. So the next thing, I seen the ballast moving a few meters away. I just sat there with my mouth open, watching the footsteps in the ballast as the ballast sank down with footsteps. You know what I mean? As I was sitting there, the hairs were sticking up straight on both arms, and I could feel it on my neck. It was like a tingling, like static electricity, and it just went on past. And after that, when it got about 10 meters away, it just stopped. But the main thing that worried me was I still had to walk in the same direction as whatever this was went, which was a little bit iffy. But obviously I had to do it because I was patrolling. I got back to Charing Cross from Finchley, and I was talking to the ganger man. And when I walked in, he says, "God, Bill, you look very white." I says, "I know you're not going to believe this." I says, "Don't tell me you've seen footsteps in the ballast." I said, "How did you know?" He says, "You're not the first person that has seen it." I said, "Well, what has happened? What do you think it is?" He says, "Well, from what I hear, there's been a patrolman who used to walk that part of the tunnel, but he died. And he is actually still walking the tunnel as a ghost, patrolling, because he still doesn't realize he's dead."
Reports of ghosts on the Underground are apparently becoming more frequent. However, some stories still remain more famous than others. The Covent Garden ghost is probably the most famous of all. But as the station gets busier and busier, he gets seen less and less. It seems that he has the same reaction to crowds as the rest of us. The last reported sighting of the ghost was in 1972. Christopher Joseph Clifford was a young lift operator at the station, which at the time was used mainly by nearby market traders. Christopher had emptied the lift after the last train and had been closing up the station for the night.
Then I went down and I put my TV on. Not my TV, my radio, you know, the portable radio. And then, and then I don't know how long it was, could be 5 minutes or something, and something made me turn around. And there's this tall geezer was standing there, 6'4", 6'3", he's always taller than me, put it that way. And he was dressed in old-fashioned clothes. He must have what you call type of a waistcoat, you know what I mean? Because his coat was up like that, see? Because he's got a waistcoat, and he had a tall hat on him. So I said, "Okay, sorry, I locked you in." I thought he must have walking up all those stairs, you know how many stairs was there? So I reached over to get my keys, and then about, when I turned back, he was gone. I says, "Where did he go?" I says, "He's gone downstairs." I went down and I looked on both platforms, in case he was standing there looking for a train. No sign. Somebody showed me a photograph that was taken He said they looked like him. I says, a spitting image. I says, where'd you get that from? But the bloke's been dead. Years and years, 100 years or more.
It never crosses most people's minds to descend 150 feet underneath London to the tunnels, corridors and stations of the London Underground. It never crosses most people's minds that the network that gets us all to work and home again is possibly one of the most haunted places in the world. Passengers can become overfamiliar with their surroundings, which may be a mistake. In 1860, a Dr. Cumming announced that the forthcoming end of the world would be hastened by the construction of underground railways, burrowing into infernal regions and thereby disturbing the devil. So next time you're on a crowded tube, you may take comfort from the fact that you're not on your own. And if you aren't on your own, will you ever be absolutely sure that the person sitting opposite you isn't a ghost?